From Krypton Radio and the creators of the Hangin' With Web Show, it's the legend of the Traveling Tardis. Look inside and behind the scenes at some of the most enduring and beloved science fiction worlds. Step inside the doors to a world that is bigger, brighter, and beyond imagination. And now, join your host, Christian Basel, as you become a part of the legend of the Traveling Tardis.
Hello, everyone. I am not Christian Basel. Sorry for the disappointment. This is J Kessler, regular co-host here on the Legend of the Traveling Tardis. Christian cannot be with us tonight, so I am filling in, and I'm very, very excited to be doing it. We are going to be discussing all things Doctor Who tonight, and I am super thrilled to be talking to you guys about Series 11, Episode 9, It Takes You Away. That was the episode that just aired this past week. We're recording on December the 4th, 2018, and very, very excited to welcome back to the show from Song Swan Cosplay, the wonderful, the talented Miss Jessica Womack.
Hello.
Hey, what's going on?
Nothing much. Excited about this episode.
Yes. It feels a little bit like we are the companions at the helm of the TARDIS this week without Christian here, but I'm sure we'll be able to soldier on through.
Flying it alone.
Yes. Exactly.
Without a pilot.
Yep, absolutely. All right. We totally got this. So, folks, the way Christian may not be here, but his legacy lives on this week because we are going to be sticking to the format, which means that we start off every episode with a little something called the Who Knew News.
Ha ha. I just love my official music. Makes me feel so special.
Yes.
So,
ladies and gentlemen, Seiji, as always, from the Hangin' With Web Show, here to do the Who Knew News. What do you got for us this week?
Okay, well, I do have some early ratings because we always mention the ratings. So for this week's episode, It Takes You Away. It was about 5 million viewers. So still holding steady. Yep, a tiny little drop, but not too much. They were the 5th highest watched show for Sunday night on the BBC.
Okay, that's pretty good.
Yeah. I think so.
I mean, not great, but...
I think their numbers, we're going to see them go much higher next week for the finale.
Yeah.
Oh,
totally.
Yeah.
I wonder, though. I wonder how much interest there is in this season because, I mean, it's definitely something I want to talk about later in the show, but with the lack of an overarching story, the lack of a big bad of this season, I'm wondering if interest is kind of tapering off to this Freak of the Week format that they've got going on.
Well, you also don't have to worry about watching them in order.
Also true.
Which is why I've heard some people are like, yeah, I just, pick it up whenever I can, watch whichever one I can, which is probably why it's been fluctuating some.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. All right, Sage, what else we got?
All right, well, speaking of villains, this is very interesting, especially for the folks in the UK, because the Doctor Who News.net that BBC puts out, they have a chance to win a DVD release of the Doctor's Villains. So it's a really special DVD collection. It's like 2 hours worth of footage, and it includes interviews with 5 of the actors who brought the Whoniverse villains to life. And then you have a chance to win it. You send your, I'll give you the question in a minute, but you send your answer, your name and address, and where you heard about the contest to comp-villains@drwhonews.net. And they have the 5 voices that are on there, or who brought the villains to life, was Ian Collider, who was Omega from Arc of Infinity, Bernard Archard, who was Marcus Scarman from Pyramids of Mars, David Gooderson, Davos from Destiny of the Daleks, Peter Miles from Nider Genesis of the Daleks, and then Julian Glover, who was Skaroth from the City of Death. So they're all on there, and the question that everybody is supposed to answer is which one of those actors was the only one to have appeared in Doctor Who alongside Roger Delgado, who played the Master.
Ah, very interesting. That is, I'm sure we have plenty of listeners out there that know the answer to this question, and hopefully one of them wins it. If you guys win it, let us know.
Yes, but you do have to be, it's only open to UK readers. So those of us, so those of us in the US, we can just, make our best guess at the answer and be satisfied that we know it.
Once again in this life, I have been ostracized by my lack of UK heritage.
See? That's it. But if you have a friend in the UK and you make them answer, then they can send you the DVD.
Fantastic. That's a great idea. I'm sure shipping won't cost an arm and a leg.
No.
All right.
Just
got
$1
anything
or
else
two.
this week?
I do. There's Worlds Collide, which is a Doctor Who live escape. You know, the escape rooms have been like really high on the rise, popularity-wise. So they are going to have one that is just based on Doctor Who. Unfortunately, this is also going to premiere in the UK. Probably be before it gets here. But that starts in early January of 2019. I know they're going to be doing some testing at the very end of this month, but that ought to be a lot of fun. Just an interactive escape room that's all Doctor Who driven. So I'm very interested to see all the details that come out about that.
Like an escape room, like what we have here in Orlando?
Yes.
And all over the place. But yeah, like escape. I've actually never done an escape room, but a Doctor Who one sounds really, really cool.
It would be kind of neat, right? I would be the person to get stuck.
So what I'm hearing is we're taking a group trip early January to the UK.
And you're going to leave me behind. No. In the room, not to the UK.
That. I'm all... As long as we can stop at one of those fish and chip carts, if they still have those around, then I will be happy.
Or a walk-to-walk. Those are my favorite.
Yeah. Have you been to the UK, Jeff?
Yes, twice.
I never have. I've never been there. The closest I've ever gotten was Bermuda, which is a British Commonwealth. But never been to the land of Doctor Who.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah,
I miss it.
It's my goal to go one day.
I'm jealous.
You have to. It's absolutely amazing.
Did you go to Cardiff? I know they have like studio there and everything.
I did. I actually got to go before it closed. And it was, it closed last August, I believe. They closed it down. There have been some rumors about them bringing it back, but nothing official. The thing is their contract was up in that building and they weren't able to renew it. So they were unsure what they were going to do instead of the Doctor Who experience.
Okay.
So, who knows?
Who knows?
I see what you did there. That's funny. So I have one last piece of news before I let you get to your review, and it's PC Magazine put out a Doctor Who Christmas list of awesome Doctor Who stuff. Of course, the first thing was the Doctor Who Barbie.
Yes, we talked about that a few weeks ago, I believe, right?
Yes, we did. So the Doctor Who Barbie, the sonic screwdriver, which you can get on Amazon, which is a lot of fun. We actually have one here at the house. Cosplay Michael plays with it all the time and loves it.
Jody's Sonic?
Is it the one that spins or the one that's stationary?
It's the one that spins. It was pretty cool.
A good one.
Yeah.
I have David Tennant's Sonic sitting on my desk right now.
Oh, nice. So the other one that I saw, which was really cool on the list, is the 13th Doctor's cosplay coat.
Oh, okay, that's cool. I like that coat.
That was pretty
sweet. Is it the
sweet.
Her Universe one?
I'm not sure.
Maybe?
I love Her Universe stuff. Her Universe, for those of you that don't know, is like geek girl wear, started by what's her name from Star Wars? Ashley
the voice
Eckstein.
of Ahsoka Tano.
Yes, Ashley Eckstein.
Well, I'm glad.
Who is a lovely, lovely person if you ever gotten the chance to meet her.
I've heard she's wonderful.
Yeah, I met her briefly at New York Comic Con. She was at the Her Universe booth, and I happened to be standing there waiting for a friend, and I turned around and I'm like, oh my gosh, Ashley Eckstein. So she's a great, great person.
So there's only a couple things left on the wonderful Doctor Who Christmas list. One of which was a Funko rock candy pop of the 13th Doctor, which is really cool. They remind me, the rock candy pops remind me of the Bratz dolls.
Oh, I've seen those. So they don't look like regular pops, right? They look like, kind of like, just like dolls, right?
Exactly. Yeah. But they sort of have...
I thought you were talking about a lollipop that was rock candy shaped like the 13th Doctor.
I thought she was too, so... I've been seeing these pops pop up. I've been seeing them around lately because they've been putting out a whole line of Disney princess ones to go along with their new Ralph Breaks the Internet movie, which, by the way, is great. It's the princesses in like their casual wear. So I figured it was some new kind of pop.
Exactly so. And
just not an edible one.
No, it's not a lollipop. Although if they make one, it should be colored like the scarf. Yes. So, but that is my news, and so it's off to the review.
Fantastic. Well, you know what? Before we get into the whole review, I wanted to run one thing by you. I know they've discussed it on the show a little bit before now, but I kind of wanted to touch on the ongoing rumors that both Chris Chibnall and Jodie Whittaker will be leaving after the next series, which will be Series 12. Have you heard about this?
I've heard about the rumor.
Yeah.
Yes.
What do you think about that? Like, do you think this was this whole series was kind of a failed experiment with Chibnall, or do you think that the course can be kind of corrected with the failing ratings and whatnot?
I think it can be corrected. I'm not sure if Chibnall's the one to do it, but I definitely think Jodie's the one to continue, because if they both quit, then you're admitting failure. Well,
and that's what I was saying to somebody earlier, then you'll never see a female doctor again, because movie executives and TV executives tend to kind of have a black and white view of everything. Deadpool made $1 billion because it's Deadpool, but to movie executives, they're like, we have to make R-rated movies now with superheroes because it made $1 billion. So I can just see that being like, well, it was a woman, that was the problem. And it's not, because she's wonderful and lovely. But the rumors persist that she would leave with him, which is kind of a thing we've seen with past doctors. David Tennant left with Russell T. Capaldi left with Moffat. And, we're also hearing rumors that Jodie is, wants the filming schedule is intense and she wants to spend more time with her kid. That's kind of the rumors that have been circulating.
Oh, I don't know.
Do you feel like it's almost kind of like you took this on, you owe it to, it's such an important milestone for women in television. It's almost like you owe it to the fans of this show to keep going.
Well, it sounds like if that's the almost excuse or the press thing that she's saying, it's a way to seem like she's not being forced out of it. That doesn't sound like a decision. From all the stuff that we've seen with her in interviews and the empowerment that she encourages and the times that she's had with the particular cast, it doesn't seem like this is not a role you give up lightly.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It's an iconic role in pop culture, and I think you're right. So I personally hope Jodie sticks around. I hope Chibnall leaves. That's kind of how I look at it. And we'll see what happens in the future. So, talking about this episode, before we get into that, I just wanted to touch real quick. We had a second panelist lined up. The technical difficulties, at the last minute, made it so that he wasn't able to make it. But I do want to give him a quick shout out to my friend Kevo Risse, who I've known since high school. He is the co-creator and color artist on Kid Riot Comics, which is a LGBT comic series that you can find online, which is really, really great. You can check that out over at thedemonhotel.com, under the comics section, where you can check out Kid Riot. So, a little plug for him there. So, this episode, real quick before we take a commercial break, let's just figure out who liked this episode more. Jess, what do you have as far as how many Traveling Tardises you want to give this episode?
I'm going to give this particular episode an 8, which I think might be the highest score I've given an episode this season.
Rare praise from Jessica Womack. I'm gonna one up you a little bit here, because this probably is my favorite episode of the season thus far. I gave it an 8.5.
Ooh.
Yeah, this episode, to me, it just felt like Doctor Who again, which we'll get into after the commercial break. But for now, folks, we are going to take a quick break. We're going to hear from our wonderful sponsors. This show's got some awesome sponsors. Be sure to check them out, and we will be back with more Legend of the Traveling TARDIS after this.
It's Germany, 1938. Charlotte is a 15-year-old girl living in the Jewish quarter. George lives in the city proper, and enamored by Charlotte's charm and grace when she wanders into his cobbler shop, George decides right then and there that he is going to marry her. Follow along as this unlikely couple struggles to stay one step ahead of the Gestapo and their dramatic escape from Nazi Germany. Good things always happen in springtime, from author Joanne Fisher on Amazon.com today.
From the imagination of author Kevin J. Kessler, the Rosinante dragons are no more. They have fallen into the obscurity of lore. Now warrior Valentine Beret and Seraphina, a magically gifted princess, are on a mission to save the world of Terra. Together they must face the Rosinante legacy and combat the greatest threat their world has ever known. In the end, who is stronger, the man or the dragon? Find out in Kevin J. Kessler's The Rosinante series on Amazon.com today.
Hello, sweeties. I'm Crystal Moore. I play the Doctor in fan series Doctor Who Velocity. You're listening to The Legend of the Traveling Tardis radio show.
And we're back.
Okay, welcome back. Sorry about that. There was some noise going on there. Well, we are back, and we are talking now about the episode itself. We're talking about Series 11, Episode 9, It Takes You Away. So, Jessica, since you had a good score of this episode, but lower than mine, you are going to start us off, as is tradition here on The Legend of the Traveling TARDIS. So take me through it, Jess. What did you think about this episode?
I thought it was the first time it has felt like Doctor Who this entire series. Mm-hmm. And it's really sad because it's the next to the last episode. And I'm like, where was this the whole time?
Mm-hmm. I'm with you 100% on this. It's kind of like it's finally finding its sea legs, but the cruise is almost done.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I thought this was it felt like a good Doctor Who episode where we land in a normal place and everything's cool and, there's a monster.
Yep.
That's not a monster. Yeah, and then with the alternative world and everything, I absolutely loved the whole shebang of it. My critiques, though, the reason I'm not, full-blown 10 or even a 9 or your 8.5 would be that I still do miss classic monsters or some already done. Now, I don't know, have you seen Class?
I have not. I've not seen any episodes of Class. It doesn't really, I'm not really the demographic I think they're going for with that show. Have you?
I have, and I didn't think I was going to like it because it got horrible ratings, and I was just like, oh, it looks so campy, it's like it's wanting to be Torchwood for teenagers, and I ended up watching it, and oh my gosh, if you have watched it, the last episode is absolutely mind-blowing and makes you want more.
Really?
Yes. And are you okay with spoilers?
Yeah, you can go for it. Spoiler warning to anyone that hasn't watched it.
Spoiler alert for the end of Class. If you haven't seen Class, go watch it because it's really good. You have to muscle through a lot of it, but there's a lot of teenage angst. But other than that, the ending is mind-blowing and so good. So the end of Class, they actually have a council run by a weeping angel. What? A council of humans run by a weeping angel. Oh, it's so good. Yeah, so, and that
sounds like a pitch in a meeting. Like, hey, we're going to do this show. It ends with the council run by a weeping angel. Let's figure out how we get there. That
basically.
To me, that's the pitch meeting. And I'm like, okay, make the show.
It's like, make it happen. It was, and it just drew you in at the very last moment and you're like, are you serious? That's it? But that was kind of, I really wanted there to be a connection between this episode that we just had and Class. Of this entire realm was run by the Weeping Angels. This was like Winter Key on a whole new level because they're literally luring humans there and absorbing their potential life force, which I thought would be brilliant and wonderful. And I was really disappointed when it wasn't that, even though I knew it wouldn't be that, but I was like, this would be so good.
Yeah, because Chip Null has thumbed his nose at all classic villains, which, are we calling the Weeping Angels classic villains now?
They're not really, but they're established villains.
Established recurring villains. It's not like the I'm trying to think of any other, the spiders, the spiders from one of the episodes that, never came back. They came back multiple times.
Yeah. Like the Silurians or anything like that, who aren't technically really, but yeah, so I still feel like it felt a bit short because we did go into a little bit of Time Lord lore, which, you have to do it delicately, I feel, because that was one of my biggest issues with some of the stuff that happened with Clara, of her going back and being in the barn with the doctor when he was a kid. I was like, TARDIS would never have landed there, ever, in a million years. If it wouldn't land on Trenzalore, why would it take you with him in the TARDIS to land here for you to talk to him as a kid? No, that's not how time works.
Absolutely not. And I feel like that was a lot of Moffat trying to make Clara important.
Yes,
as opposed to just
wasn't.
letting... Exactly. Moffat tried to make Clara important. He was like, oh, look, everyone, I have given you a new Sarah Jane. Rejoice. And everybody was like, no, like, Sarah Jane earned that over, like, 3 doctors and a whole bunch of...
Clara demanded being liked, whereas everyone else, you got to know them by their actual accolades.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm like Rose. People loved Rose because of her relationship with the Doctor. I loved Rose because of how much the Doctor loved Rose. Like that was kind of always the point of her to me. Yeah, with Clara, that was always kind of manufactured. I felt like, or forced.
Yes. Yeah.
Yep. So,
but I feel like that. Yeah, we went on a bunny trail, but
we did.
but the fact of delving into the Time Lord lore and having that be.
Yeah.
Something. Oh, sorry. I thought
no problem. You cut out
something.
for a sec.
Okay. Yeah, but I just them delving into Time Lord lore and adding more to it. It just kind of didn't feel as organic. It was once again, oh, I've heard about this. Look at that. It exists. And I really feel that that's where Chibnall has failed, is by not giving us something that seems familiar. And that's been our biggest issue or my biggest issue this season has been, it doesn't feel like Doctor Who because we have a new Doctor, new writer, we're lacking actual music. Playing a few notes on a organ is not music, sorry.
I agree.
So, you've got to give us something familiar. At least when we went from, Matt, or David to Matt, you had at least something. We saw different things from David's era.
Well, we also got to see him work with the Daleks, like, pretty much right away. And,
yes.
like, things that still remind you, hey, this is the Doctor. And so, Jodie sometimes, like, yes, I do enjoy her as the Doctor, but sometimes she doesn't quite feel like she's almost too much of a happy, like, bursting sunshine of joy. And she lacks that, like, the Doctor was always, like, a goofball, but behind the smile, there was always this deepness, this sadness, this darkness that I feel is, like, just not there with Jodie.
Well, but we did lose that bit of darkness when, I think that's correct for where the Doctor is in their life, though. Because I went back, and when I was watching some Classic Who after seeing 1 or 2 episodes, this is when I was first introduced, and I saw the 4th Doctor, Tom Baker, going out fishing. And I'm like, who the heck is this guy? He is not the Doctor. The Doctor doesn't go and sit hours with a fishing pole. But that's because I'd seen post-Time War Doctor. Mm-hmm. And we did see a release of that darkness, of that burden, as soon as we knew that Gallifrey existed. And I think the only darkness that we saw with Peter Capaldi was he didn't really have darkness. He was just a grumpy old man, which the Doctor, is. He's old. He's seen a lot. And we saw before his regeneration into the 13th Doctor, you saw that release of like, okay, we're just gonna clean slate it, everything like that. So I do feel like Jodie's Doctor makes sense to where the Doctor is in their life, of that happy-go-lucky. But I agree with you. We should see something more of a weightedness, but we haven't been given a situation to see the weightedness, such as a good monster.
Yeah, no, I agree. Now, what were your feelings on, this week? So it seems like Chibnall has a real love of like showing you how smart he is by being like, hey, here's the thing that's going to happen, and then, just kind of turning it on its head. So what did you think of the Solid Trap?
I liked the concept of it.
I loved it.
I really did. I absolutely adored it. And I thought it was the first thing that really felt like Doctor Who that we've had so far. 'Cause Stitch didn't feel like Doctor Who. Star Trek guys in that episode didn't feel like Doctor Who. The Arachnids, I mean, kind of, but they also felt like everything else. I think we even said this in a previous episode where everything felt like it was pulled from somewhere else. This was the first thing we've seen, I feel, that was pulled from Doctor Who. It was an actual, like, Doctor Who boulder you had to move.
Mm-hmm.
And
it wasn't like fighting against racism or fighting against like some very human threat. It was fighting against something that is so otherworldly and so alien, a conscious universe, you know, like that was...
Yeah. And I kind of wish there had been a little bit more of a sadness from the Doctor besides desperation, because the Doctor knows what it feels like to be alone in the universe.
Right.
And I feel like the Doctor didn't make that connection with this consciousness.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. I felt a little bit of the Doctor sadness in there throughout this. Like I felt it like when she says to the Soul Track, like, hey, like take me, I've lost more than anyone else, I've experienced more, I've loved more. Like that to me was like the Doctor at the Rings of Akaten being like, I have lost things you could never understand.
That was definitely a throwback to Akaten.
Yes, 100%. I mean, not delivered with the same teary-eyed energy that Matt Smith brought to it.
Yeah. But that's where I feel like it was lacking, because it felt more that speech of her saying, like, take me, it felt more desperate than it did a connection to the consciousness. And it was just, I was like, I wanted you to go all the way. Like, I wanted you to, like, completely, like, take me there. And it wasn't. But
yeah, I agree.
But other than that, like, it still was a beautiful moment, with the frog. Bless.
Oh, the frog. I mean, I'll get to it when we get to my review of it, but wow, did I love that frog. As somebody who has made a life out of loving frog puppets, as I have, it was, like, the only thing that would have been better would have been like, hi-ho, Soul Track here. Like, that's the only thing that could have made it any better for me.
I wanted it to be a previous face, though. Of
the
Doctor. Susan.
Who would you would have, Susan? Yeah, they're saving that. They are saving that.
Cause I'm like, we have an actress because they were, you know, in the, what is it called? That one where they did the documentary.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Oh, shoot. But the documentary where, David Bradley played one for the first time, and then they had the actress who played the girl who played his granddaughter in that.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. I'll think about it later.
Yeah. Think about it during the commercial, because we're going to take a quick commercial break right now. We're going to hear from our sponsors once again. We'll be back with more Legend of the Traveling Tardis right after this.
From some of today's best-selling, award-winning authors comes 22 page-turning tales, Cursed Lands.
Cursed Lands will lead you through one doomed world after another in a haunting dystopian urban fantasy.
Join the courageous as they battle for survival across worlds where fae, vampires, angels, witches, and more roam freely.
Cursed Lands is coming soon on Apple Books, Kobo, and Nook.
Pre-order your copy for just 99 cents today.
We all have one shot at life. Rambling Across America by Tommy Ray is an adventure about chasing dreams. In brilliant prose, follow Tommy Ray through personal experience, inspirational quotes, and photos from his Confessions of a Dreamer tour. Woke one night from a dream, Tommy resigned his safe, secure position and took a leap of faith. Now, he invites you to follow his journey. Rambling Across America by Tommy Ray. Get it on Amazon.com because today is going to be ridiculously amazing.
Best-selling and award-winning author of true crime and crime fiction, Yvonne Mason is back with a brand new book, The Pink Canary, a book that delves into the life of a drag queen and a marvelous whodunit. You can find this and all of Yvonne's other works on Amazon.com or find Yvonne Mason on Facebook and Twitter.
He's gonna kill me.
Buy your copy of Pink Canary now.
And welcome back to the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS, folks. Jess has figured out the name of the movie that she was just referring to.
An Adventure in Time and Space. David Bradley plays William Hartnell.
That was it. Folks, if you could tell by that energetic, Jess and I are not alone anymore. We are, the tech issues have been fixed. and I am very pleased to welcome my good friend since high school. He's the co-creator of and color artist for Kid Riot Comics. Please welcome Mr. Kevo Risse to the show. Welcome, Kev.
Hey, everyone. How's it going?
Very, very pleased to have you here. Folks, Kevo is one of the most knowledgeable people on Doctor Who that I've ever met. I'm really thrilled to be able to bring him here into the Legend of the Traveling Tardis family. No stranger to being a radio host, no stranger to this show and to fandoms in general. So, hey, Kevo, before we hop into this episode, could you tell us a little bit about where we can find Kid Riot Comics?
Literally kidriotcomics.com, all one word, and that's also where you find all of our stuff on social media. So Facebook, Instagram, all that good stuff. We've got about 1,000 pages of content all on our site for free to read. It's good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an LGBT comic book, and it is absolutely wonderful.
Yeah.
So, Kevo, the way it works here on the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS, when we bring in somebody new, talk about the episode, we ask you to rate it between 1 and 10 Traveling TARDISes. So what would you give Series 11, Episode 9, It Takes You Away? Between 1 and 10.
I guess an 8. I really enjoyed it.
That's the same thing that Jess gave it. So that's
okay,
awesome.
Nice.
I gave it an 8.5. So we would be at your review now anyway. Mine'll go last. We usually go lowest rated review to highest rated review. So what were your general thoughts on this episode?
Well, I definitely found it very engaging. I liked seeing a lot more of the companions doing things on their own. That's one of the best things about having a Team TARDIS this year is that we have all these characters to interact with. So it's nice to see them split up and going about their own devices. The monster mislead was really cool. I didn't see that one coming. The speaker part, that was pretty interesting. It's been said before, and it really is true. A lot of the threats this season are really non-threats, and it's really strange. But Chibnall has always been sort of a strange writer. I mean, I could go on and on and on and on, but I don't want to necessarily step on anybody else's toes either.
No, I mean, now do you feel that there's been a lot of misdirects this season? Like I was just saying to Jess in the last segment that I feel like, and I was saying to you earlier privately, Kevo, that I feel like Chibnall is kind of like, even more so than Moffat, with like the, here's where you think I'm going, but I'm going somewhere completely different. Like, do you think it's been a little bit too much of that this season? Like,
perhaps. I think, and I was thinking about this earlier. I was reflecting on it. I think the biggest problem is how many episodes Chibnall wrote himself, because it doesn't give enough variance in tone for the series. Chris Chibnall's episodes, he wrote 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and a half, if you count this weird epilogue that he wrote to the Pond's last episode. He wrote 6 episodes before this, and all of his episodes deal with all the themes that he's hit here, which are humans are really the bad guys themselves.
Yes.
He wrote 42 in Series 3, which was the one in the spaceship where they pulled the heart out of that sun and it was trying to get its heart back. He wrote the Silurian episode in Series 5 where the bad guy was really humans because we were drilling on Silurian space. He wrote the dinosaurs on a spaceship in Series 3 where the bad guys were, again, humans who were taking advantage of animals. You see a lot of stuff like this coming up in his themes repeatedly for episodes that he wrote before this. So it's sort of along the lines of what I was expecting from him, and I think it probably would have helped if he hadn't written 7 out of 10 episodes this year. That's way too many from one person's voice, and only one of those was co-written with someone, thank God, because if he wrote Rosa Parks by himself, that definitely would have been bad.
Yeah, that would have been somewhat problematic. I had no idea that he had such a history of going with that whole humans are the bad guys. It kind of feels like a very Walking Dead kind of mentality of like humans are worse than monsters.
Or Black Mirror.
Right, yeah, exactly. So, Jess, have you noticed that as well? That that's kind of where we've been going this series with humans are worse than monsters?
Oh yeah, that's definitely been, if you could pick any overlying arc, which there isn't, that's it. It's the fact that because I think that was even a complaint we had of like, there's no monsters, there's no bad people, everyone that's bad are people.
Well, yeah, and then when you look at the aliens that we've had this series, you've got the spiders from Harry Potter, you've got more alien Stitch, you've got.
Oh, he was so cute though.
He was adorable, but come on, it was Stitch.
No, I get that.
It was totally Stitch. And then you had, I felt like the Kerblam robots were kind of the takeoff of the angels from, not the Weeping Angels, but the angel robots from the Titanic episode.
Voyage of the Damned, yeah. Except at least these guys were better. These guys were better, though. That episode kind of sucked. Sorry, but that's really one of my least favorites. Sorry, Kylie Minogue.
Oh, well, and technically they were good. Kind of.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So they're creepy, but they were actually good guys.
They were creepy, but they were actually good.
Yeah,
they were kind of hijacked, though.
Yeah, I guess that was kind of turning a trope. Yeah, I think that was kind of turning a trope on its head in a way. That now that you mention that, like, because in Doctor Who, it's always kind of like if you go somewhere and there are creepy robots that are serving people, beware, they're gonna turn. Like even the Ood were ended up turning on people as well in the episode where they first showed up. So,
yeah,
I do get that. What did you think, Kevo, of the Solitrack as a concept?
It's hard to say because it doesn't really feel like anything's going to happen to it, and nobody will probably ever bring it up again. And that is just sort of something that happens in Doctor Who episodes a lot. And that is something we just sort of have to be okay with. It was interesting and it was fun, and I like them playing with the bounds of reality in that way.
I like the concept of the anti-zone.
Yeah, I think I might have read that that's something that's been discussed before too, and that's always nice. Mm-hmm. It's nice that even though this series doesn't have aliens from previous series, they are being very good about referencing previous series. The bad guy from Rosa was from the same storm cage containment facility that River Song had been contained in while she was in prison. And there's been a lot of moments like that, at least. So it's not like they're pretending nothing came before this. And that would be a lot more difficult, I think.
Right, like when she got the Kerblam package and it was a Fez. Like that was
that was nice.
I have liked the callbacks, but now question to both of you guys, and Jessica, I think I know your take on this, but the question remains to everybody. Now, do you think this series is suffering with no Daleks, no Cybermen, no Weeping Angels, nothing we've ever seen before?
Suffering is a heavy word.
Mm-hmm.
Heavy-footed? Yes. You have to trudge through a bit. It's making it very hard to dig your cleats into this sand.
Yeah.
I'm bad at metaphors, by the way.
I think that when we get a new Doctor, I think one of the things that we look for is familiarity in them.
Yes.
And nothing is a better familiarity moment than the first time they come in contact with the Daleks. Like even in Matt Smith's first episode with the Daleks, as much as Moffat, as you said to me earlier, Kevin, doesn't want to admit that this one exists. He has that moment.
Oh my God, those Daleks, the multicolored Daleks.
But he has that moment when he sees the Daleks in World War II, when he cuts that scathing promo on them, like I am your ultimate enemy and blah blah blah. Like there's that moment where you're like, yes, this is my Doctor with a new face and a new personality, but that contentious relationship with the Daleks is still there.
Well, and I feel like that's where Eccleston because that was the episode Dalek. That I feel like was almost the one that was brought in the classic Whovians, because until then, I mean, it was. Not that they weren't used to it, but it was pretty rough CG and basic plot lines and everything. But once you hit the episode of Dalek, you have that immediate connection to Davros and that immediate connection to the genesis of the Daleks and the Fourth Doctor and everything. So even as far back as Eccleston, the Dalek is really... Dalek and the Doctor are yin and yang. Like, you can't have one without the other because... the Doctor could have taken him out,
Mm-hmm. It's Batman and the Joker, it's Spider-Man and the Green Goblin, it's Superman and Lex Luthor. If you can't have one without the other, and I agree, and it is the test of a new Doctor, I feel, to see them go against the Daleks. And you look at Eccleston. Eccleston got locked in that room with that Dalek in the episode Dalek, and the way... I was new to Who, and hashtag new to who. The way he sold that Dalek with the pure terror that he had sold me on them as a villain instantly.
Yes.
And I really wish I could have seen, or I hope I do eventually get to see, Jodie come face to face with them and have that righteous anger that every Doctor has for them.
I feel like I don't know if she'll meet the Daleks. I would like to hope. You never know what's going to happen. You know, all these rumors that are flying about right now. I would expect that she would. 2 points. One being, you know, they really had to show those old aliens to draw new people into the revival back then, because they were trying to win new viewers, they were trying to win old viewers, they were trying to reintroduce the core concepts of the franchise back in the day. So they really had no choice. This new production team has a really unique opportunity, because a lot of people don't realize how much changeover there actually was. Stephen Moffat didn't just leave, because when Russell T. Davies left, you know, a lot of producers left, but he was the only writer that really left and never came back. Mm-hmm. This is the first series without an episode written or co-written by Stephen Moffat. This is the first one, except for Series 4, without an episode written or co-written by Mark Gatiss. It's the first episode since Stephen Moffat. It's the first series since Stephen Moffat took over that doesn't have an episode written by the writer Toby Whithouse, except for Series 8. So many people on the creative staff left all at once, and this is this whole brand new team of writers and creators. And unlike when it came back in 2005, they have 13 years of the Doctor being back that they can rely on. And, you know, as long as you have Time Lord Sonic TARDIS, you know what you're watching, and you know that this franchise isn't going to go anywhere ever again. Even if it gets canceled after Series 12, Doctor Who's not going to die. So they have this opportunity to do everything completely brand new. And it was a bold choice. Was it the right choice? No, probably not. Honestly, I'm gonna say, as much as I applaud them, no, I would have done at least one episode with literally anyone. Zygons again? No, not Zygons. We just had Zygons. But someone old that we haven't seen in a while.
Right, I agree.
Raxacorical Phalabatorians. I don't care.
Aww. Yeah.
But, yeah. But we should have seen someone old, but I get why they chose to do this. So much of the creative team left. Multiple writers who were writers for the 12th Doctor left. It's such a time of change, and I think not enough people realize that in criticizing Series 11.
Yes, yeah, I think that you're right. I think you hit the nail perfectly on the head with that guy. I think that, I do agree with you. It probably wasn't the right choice to go in such a radically different route. I mean, it's kind of like you're making a Batman movie, but it's like you know, the old adage of the Superman movie that they wanted Kevin Smith to make, where there's like, I don't want to see him fly, I don't want to see him in that costume, and they got to have a giant spider in the third act. We already had the giant spider, and we don't have any Daleks, and we don't have, you know, any of the. But we are going to take a quick commercial break. We're going to be back with our last segment of the show. Folks, thank you for sticking with us, and please hold on through the break. We'll be right back with more Legend of the Traveling Tardis right after this.
Channeling the Mothership is an exciting journey into the higher mysteries. Certified psychic medium and clairvoyant Jerry McDaniel's readings, writings, and messages have been received by thousands of people in more than 45 countries. These messages have been obtained by channeling his higher self. How does he do it? Is it a blessing or a curse? And what lay beyond the reach of your five senses? Channeling the Mothership. Explore the mysteries of the spiritual and the metaphysical. Channeling the Mothership by author Jerry McDaniel. Available on Amazon.com today.
The Hanging with Web Show Radio Hour on Krypton Radio, bringing you the very best in pop culture talk radio. Each Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, the Hanging with Web Show Radio Hour with your hosts G.W. Pomacher and Christian Basel, who are hanging with rising pop culture newcomers as well as superstar icons. The Hanging with Web Show Radio Hour. Tune in Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. Who are you hanging with?
Hi, I'm Cosplay Michael with the Hanging with Web Show, and you're listening to Krypton Radio. And remember, cosplay's for everyone.
Welcome back, folks, to the Legend of the Traveling Tardis. Kevin Kessler filling in for Christian Basel this week. Joining me are Jessica Womack of Song Swan Cosplay and Kevo Risse, the co-creator of Kid Riot Comics. Folks, we are, it's my turn to do a little review. I'm going to keep my reviews short because I've kind of been weighing in with you guys throughout all of the, throughout all of your reviews. So I'm just going to touch on a few things. I love the concept, by the way, of the Woolly Rebellion. And
yes,
that needs to be, and I'm going to make a Buffy reference that, Jess, I don't know if you'll get, but Kevin will definitely get it. Like, that's got to be the new, world of shrimp.
Yeah, or Cleveland, or demonic activity in Cleveland.
Exactly. That's got to be a thing that just keeps getting referenced 3 doctors from now. Okay. I loved going to modern-day Norway. I feel like that's a thing that I wouldn't have thought of. I think that was an interesting setting, and I really liked Ryan's growth throughout this episode. You saw in the very beginning, I think Ryan has a very negative view of male
figures.
Paternal figures in his life. So you see, when she's just like, oh, my dad's gone, and he's just like, I probably left. That's what dads do. And then by the end, we finally got here in the penultimate episode, that moment where he calls Graham granddad, and my heart, instant tears. Instant tears. I cried twice in this episode. I cried when he called him granddad, and I cried when Grace showed up.
Ugh.
I didn't, but I respect that.
When she was like, Graham O'Brien, I was just like, oh. And it was Graham's face. Graham has quickly become my favorite companion this season. Just so much. I love watching the doctors.
Yeah.
I love watching an old person, a senior citizen, react to the doctor's world. It's fascinating.
I'd like to point out to you, Chris Chibnall just really likes old white dudes. The Silurian episodes that he wrote in Series 5 featured a granddad character who was a very kind but strong man. And then he was the person who introduced and wrote the only 2 episodes to feature Rory's father. He created that character, and then he wrote, I don't know if anyone has ever seen it, but there is a epilogue to the final episode of The Ponds. It's this little short that didn't ever get filmed because the actor was busy doing a play, but they produced it using storyboards, and it's Rory wrote a letter to his father, and Chris Chibnall wrote all of that. So he just really loves old white dudes, so I'm really not surprised that Graham is such a strong character, and I appreciate it. It's a little bit like it's a crutch to get us through having a female doctor, but okay, I'll take the crutch.
He's playing the character so well. Even just little things. He carries a sandwich with him everywhere. I'm like, oh, you get me. That's totally... how about the fact that, speaking of grandfathers and grandmothers, how about the doctor having 7 grandmothers?
Love it. Why not?
Just these little tidbits they like to just dangle in front of us.
I really believe number 2 is a spy.
I probably was. I really think that the concept of the Soul Trek as a conscious universe is absolutely awesome and creative. It felt very Doctor Who to me. What do you guys think about the fact that I think Yaz is becoming so capable on her own and is now almost hitting those levels where she's almost like a peer to the Doctor?
Absolutely.
I don't know.
There was that moment where she was like, oh, you just reversed the polarity of it. And the Doctor looks at her like, hey! Those are words that I say.
I think some people might react to that the way that many people react to characters like Clara Oswald or sometimes Amy Pond, where it seems like they're almost too capable for humans. And I respect that, but I love those characters, so I love this. And if we lose Ryan and Graham, I won't be as sad as if we lose Yaz.
Okay, I get that.
See, I like Yaz, but I just don't think she's reached those. I feel like she has 1 or 2 lines where she actually thinks on her feet, but other times where it's just like, okay, you're just, because she's a cop. She's trained for that type, and that's all I've seen it as. The only person this season that I thought matched the Doctor's mental capacity was actually the dude on, what was that episode, with the pating?
Oh.
The pilot?
The Saranga.
Yes.
The Saranga conundrum.
Was that guy. I thought he was the one that, it was, the Doctor even, kind of bowed to it and was like, all right, yeah, you do know what you're doing. Gotcha.
Yeah, I remember that. He was so hot, too. Oh, my God.
Here's the thing that I wanted to bring up. Rule 1. The doctor lies. Does she still?
Okay.
Yes.
You don't get, because when she was like offering to like trade the Sonic, I was like, I bet you she'd have given it.
I questioned it. I wasn't sure. I get what you're saying.
She and I was saying this to Jess before you came on. I feel like she lacks that darkness that always hides behind the doctor's smile. And I'm wondering if she has it in her to be as ruthless as, say, a David Tennant or a Peter Capaldi.
I have a somewhat gendered thing to say, but I mean it in a way where I hope it's going to deconstruct a gender concept. Okay. I wonder if the doctor is almost seeing the gender reset as an opportunity to become more happy-go-lucky and try to get rid of his/her own toxic masculinity, and I would love to see her confronted with that and confronted with the fact that, you know, we do all have that darkness in us. Mm-hmm. I would hate to think it's that Chibnall is writing her as happier because she's a woman. If he's not writing those moments for her because she's a woman, that sucks. But if there's something about it that they're building towards, because I don't think we'll never see it, otherwise it's just bad writing on Chibnall's part.
Yeah, I feel like we just haven't gotten those tragic moments with the Doctor.
We haven't had the opportunity for it, because there hasn't been anything. Now, if this in-between worlds creature had cut the Doctor off from Yaz and Graham, I would have loved to have seen the reaction, because you know that would have been anger and frustration. And see, that's what we're missing, are opportunities of loss, because the Doctor hasn't lost anything this season at all, which is why I don't think we've seen the darkness, because that's when the darkness comes out for the Doctor.
I think we see a very brief moment of it when she's talking to the Soul Track, and when, like what I had mentioned before, like when she's like, I've loved more, I've lost more. Like, when she said I lost more, you could hear it in her voice, the heaviness, and I want more of that. I like the Doctor as a tragic figure, you know, as like, almost like a more moral version of Rick Sanchez, where it's like the dark god that, you know, wanders the world. Like a Rick Sanchez that's not a sociopath.
The lonely god.
Yes,
like
the lonely god.
David is referred to, yeah.
Yeah, and like, cause like, there's the moments where David Tennant was like, the big David Tennant open mouth smile that I love so much, but also like the David Tennant in the pouring rain, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, Doctor. Like, those are not the moments and even Matt Smith, you know, had those moments where like that seriousness would take him over. And you know, again, I think it's,
and then basically just, all of 12.
Yeah, I mean, he was just constantly like that.
Except we don't talk about Series 8.
No, we don't talk about Series. It's Pennell and Lot. We don't talk about Series 8.
We don't talk about Pennell and 8.
So before we end, I wanted to talk about, since this is the penultimate episode leading into the finale, I want to talk about the series thus far, how it's so radically different. And now, do you think it has suffered from there being no overarching story and no big bad?
Well, I don't think there's no big bad. I absolutely think we are going to see the aliens from the premiere in the finale. We've already seen some seeds of them in the background of other episodes, like the Ghost Monument. I think there's some sort of arc there. I don't know what it is or if it will be complete from episode 10. I said to Kevin earlier, I think this series finale, the teeth are a little less sharp, knowing that we're getting another episode in less than a month after, and I'm pretty sure everyone's confirmed A-OK from publicity stills and stuff. So, like, nothing too climactic could possibly happen in this episode. I think we're gonna get something. I don't know how happy we're gonna be with it, though.
But if we don't get something, would the series have suffered?
I think yes. I think that I love the things like when you look back, the Bad Wolf, the bees disappearing, Missy.
Silence will fall.
The silence will fall.
Well, don't get me started on that.
Yeah, I know. But we've been missing those overarching that overarching story. It just seems like everything is just kind of freak of the week.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that. And I don't dislike it is the thing. It's just weird. And I think one of the things that Doctor Who is going to need to start doing to stay alive is challenge format like that. I would love to see if Chibnall really is exhausted from this format, if maybe Doctor Who could get a Sherlock treatment one year and get 3 90-minute episodes all in a row instead of getting a full series. There's no reason that it has to be locked in to the format that we've had for the last 13 years. And perhaps Series 12 is going to be a second part to Series 11, and there's going to be a 20-episode overarching story. I don't necessarily think that's what's happening here, but, it's anyone's guess.
True,
I think we need to start seeing stuff like that.
Jessica, what's your opinion on this before we have to end the show?
Well, I think that the thing that an overarching story, it doesn't have to be every episode, and it's breadcrumbs. And the thing that I feel has happened in recent series with Moffat and with Chibnall's new series is I know you have to cater towards an American audience somewhat because a lot of the fan base is not just in the UK anymore, it is in America. But with that comes a lot of explaining too much. Whereas if you notice in earlier series, it's drier. You don't explain away everything. Midnight is an excellent episode and you don't have a conclusion, but you have enough that you need. And the problem that I feel like we've been having is it's great. It's good build up. There's a twist and it's just the same format that we've been seeing. And so if you don't have that overlying arc in there, then you're just having the same format for every single episode. And I do feel like it's because it is catered a little bit to an American audience that some things do have to be explained a little bit more. And that's what you notice in a lot of American television too, is you explain every little detail. Whereas if you watch a lot of British, they won't explain everything. You catch on or you don't get it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I feel like this is a conversation that we could continue to go on for hours. But unfortunately, radio is a finite format here, people. We are running out of time. So I just want to take this moment to thank everybody for being on the show tonight. Jess, thank you so much as always. Where can folks go to find you?
I have an Instagram at Song Swan Cosplay. It's got a lot of Doctor Who stuff and Star Wars stuff and all the nerdy stuff.
Awesome. Any Doctor Who cosplays coming up?
Crash of the Byzantium River song I'm working on.
Fantastic.
Nice.
Yeah.
Kevo, thank you. This was a thrill for me to be able to podcast with you. We've been friends for, probably 15 years at this point. So it's really been awesome to have you on. Tell folks where they can find you and all of your work, including your 2 podcasts.
Well, you can find my comic book at kidridecomics.com. You can find me on Instagram, Tumblr, and Twitter at Kevo Really, Kevoreally. Yeah, that's correct. And I'm also on a podcast on a network called Cage Club Podcast Network with my husband on a show called X's for Podcast where we talk about the X-Men comics from the beginning.
Fantastic. All right, folks, and for me, please check me out over on Instagram at White Dragon PN. You can also check out my other show, which is the Just Us Watchtower, taking a look at the CWDC comics universe. Also, you can check out my show on Walt Disney World, Two Men and the Mouse, which is over on my network, the White Dragon Podcast Network. And please follow me on Twitter at Kevin J Kessler and my Facebook page, facebook.com/Kevin J Kessler author. Well, that does it for this week. Jess, anything to close us out?
I hope we have another episode like last week. Woo!
Yes, Kevo, any closing words for us?
Banana,
I love it. All right, folks, for Seiji, for Jessica Womack, for Kevo Risse, my name is Kevin Kessler. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll see you guys back again next week with Christian Almzy, and we are out of here. Please stay tuned for a teaser for next week's episode, which will be covering episode 10, the finale, the Battle of Ranskor Av Kolos.
9 distress signals all coming from the